Hello, friends. My name is Pam. It's Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. Welcome to the reading of the Record Courier. Believe it or not, there are no new death notices listed in the online edition of the Record Courier, so we'll have to begin with our first article. Man found guilty in attempted shooting of Ravenna police officer by Jeff Saunders. A Ravenna man has been found guilty of shooting at Ravenna police officers during an early morning traffic stop on Oakwood Street in July. A jury found 22-year-old Aiden N. Boo guilty on 4 counts of first-degree felony assault on Friday. The jury did not reach a decision on aggravated murder charges, and his name is BEWS. And Boo's sentencing is pending an investigation and report by the court's adult probation department. The charge against Boo all came when with firearms specifications. He is being held on a $2 million bond. Ravenna police pulled over Marquet D.A. Barlow, 22, of Ravenna at 2 a.m. July 16th. Barlow and 2 other men, Kyle N. Oden, 29, of Ravenna, and Kwan J. Colpetro, 21, of Youngstown, would subsequently be charged in connection with an alleged shooting at East Main Street, Taco Bell in Ravenna, on June 30th. Police say that Barlow, Boo, and Austin Horn, 22, also of Ravenna, had been together at a Mechanic Street home. Boo and Horn later found out that Barlow had been stopped by police. Boo drove by the traffic stop with Horn as a passenger and circled to a stop on Diamond Street, where they fired shots at officers, police said. No injuries were reported. The police department mobilized officers armed with AR-15 rifles and secured a perimeter extending from Cleveland Road to Jones Avenue and from Oakwood to Diamond Streets. The department also used a UAV drone. Horn was arrested at the Mechanic Street home later that morning after a Ravenna police detective recognized his car. U.S. Marshals arrested Boo at a Deerfield home on July 18th. A jury trial for Horn is scheduled for March 9th at 9 a.m. He's being held on a $250,000 bond. Barlow, Oden, and Colpetro have all been indicted on charges of attempted murder and aggravated robbery, both first-degree felonies, and 2 counts of second-degree felony assault. All of the charges carry firearms specifications. Barlow has also been separately indicted with third-degree felony, having a weapon under disability, as well as improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle. Carrying a concealed weapon and receiving stolen property, all fourth-degree felonies in connection with an allegation that he was found to possess a stolen, loaded pistol during the July 16th traffic stop that he was not allowed to have due to a prior drug possession conviction. Barlow has also been separately indicted with third-degree felonies. I'm sorry, I read that paragraph. Having a weapon under disability. I'm going to read it again. As well as improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle. Carrying a concealed weapon and receiving stolen property, all fourth-degree felonies, in connection with an allegation that he was found to possess a stolen, loaded pistol during the July 16th traffic stop that he was not allowed to have due to prior drug possession convictions. The reason I reread that sentence was because I needed to look up what weapons under disability means, and I thought you might like to know as well. It means to knowingly acquire, have, carry, or use a firearm if any of the following apply. If the person is a fugitive from justice or under indictment or has been convicted of a felony. Now I'm much smarter. Eyewitnesses reported gunshots during a confrontation involving 2 vehicles in the parking lot of East Main Street Taco Bell on June 30th. Police said Barlow, Oden, and Colpetro were in one vehicle when shots were allegedly fired at another vehicle. A man in that vehicle suffered minor injuries, police said. Barlow is scheduled to go on trial on March the 2nd, and Colpetro and Oden on May 14th. Our next article, Portage County Sheriff, missing 3-month-old boy found in Detroit, returned to Portage. Portage County authorities have found a 3-month-old boy whose parents failed to follow an emergency custody order to bring the boy to juvenile court on Thursday. The boy, Jay Trevon Jeffers, was found safe in Detroit, according to a report by Beacon Journal partner News 5 Cleveland. Jay Trevion was believed to have been taken by his parents, Sandra S. Jeffers and Jason Lee Jeffers Jr., whose last known address was an apartment at 846 West Main Street in Ravenna, according to the Portage County Sheriff's Office. Portage County Job and Family Services filed the emergency custody order on Wednesday. The sheriff's office announced Friday night that the baby had been located, stating on the department's Facebook page that he is now in custody and care of the Portage County Sheriff's Office. We will be working on temporary placement for the child while the case remains under investigation, the department announced. Our next article, Kent State expects more in-person learning, some attendance at sporting events in the fall. While no one knows what the COVID-19 pandemic will look like by August, Kent State University President Todd Diacon told students Monday that he expects to return to a more normal level of operations by the beginning of the fall 2021 semester. That includes more in-person classes, residence halls operating at near capacity, the return of co-curricular activities, and allowing some attendance at athletic events. Diacon said planning is being driven by the assumption that all adults, including students who want to be vaccinated, will have been vaccinated by the start of classes in August. Even with widespread vaccinations, he said, it is likely that mask requirements and some level of physical distancing in classrooms will remain in place. The university plans to expand the number of rooms on campus used for classes to accommodate more in-person classes. Our goal is to approach a more normal level of operations in the fall semester with more in-person opportunities for living, learning, and working, he said. Even as we approach normal in the fall, we know that significant differences generated by the pandemic will remain. Kent issues snow emergency parking ban on all city streets. A snow emergency parking ban has been enacted in Kent as of noon on Monday until further notice. Parking on all city streets is banned to allow city crews to clear snow and ice. Melanie Baker, Kent's Director of Public Service, said her office will issue an update when the ban is lifted. She also reminded residents and businesses to clear public sidewalks of snow and ice. And now, minor injuries reported after pickup flips over on I-76 in Portage County. Minor injuries were reported after a pickup truck flipped over in the right lane on Interstate 76 westbound between routes 43 and 44 on Monday morning, an Ohio State Highway Patrol dispatcher said. No one was transported to a hospital, and both lanes have been reopened. Up next, Ohio reports 1,915 daily COVID-19 infections, 48 additional deaths as cases continue decline. Here's the latest on the coronavirus pandemic in Ohio. The list will be updated after 2 p.m. each day. Cancer patients and other at-risk Ohioans are not on the state's list for COVID-19 vaccinations, and here's why. Ohio's one-stop vaccination appointment website still is not up and running despite hopes for Sunday's launch. The addition of 4,275 previously unreported COVID-19 deaths nearly doubles the death toll from November and December. Ohio is in Phase 1B for COVID-19 vaccinations. That includes people age 65 and older, school employees, and people with certain severe congenital and developmental conditions. At least 941,265 people have been reported to have COVID-19 in Ohio, according to reports. 16,394 have died. Ohio COVID-19 death error. State epidemiologist reassigned. Employee involved in the count resigns, by Jackie Bouchard. In Columbus, an Ohio Department of Health employee involved in an error that withheld 1/3 of the state's COVID-19s from the public count has resigned. Ohio Department of Health Director Stephanie McLeod said Thursday that one employee had been responsible for reviewing death certificate data and reconciling that data with a separate database used by physicians and health departments. The department learned last week that roughly 4,000 deaths were not properly added to the count since October, when COVID-19 caseloads and deaths began to climb. 2. Catherine Kondapalli, an epidemiologist investigator, was placed on administrative leave while the health department investigated the error. An agency spokeswoman said Thursday in response to questions about the employee mentioned by McLeod. By Friday morning, Kondapalli had resigned. A different spokeswoman confirmed. Kondapalli had worked for the department for nearly 5 years and earned $79,000 last year, according to OhioCheckbook.com. The health department discovered the undercounted deaths during a routine employee training. The health department learned of COVID-19 deaths in 2 ways: through the Ohio Disease Reporting System, updated in real time by doctors and local health departments, and through death certificates submitted to the electronic death registration system. The process of reconciling deaths between the 2 databases to account for duplicates and co-deaths missed by disease reports must be done manually, McLeod said. McLeod said Thursday that no one had been fired. Yet the department's Bureau of Infectious Disease chief, Sitsky D. Fichter, was reassigned to a position in the Bureau of Health Improvement and Wellness. D. Fichter, the state epidemiologist, is a 23-year veteran of the department who earns about $135,900 last year. Christian Dickerson has been appointed chief of the Bureau of Infectious Disease. Dickerson previously served as a statewide manager for health, wellness, and special programs at the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Dickerson is a registered nurse and has a master's degree in public health. Moving on, Kent State officially begins search for new director of athletics by Alan Moff. Kent State University has officially opened its search for a new director of athletics, according to a statement that was released to the media and published on the school website last week. A 12-member search committee led by Lamar R. Hilton, Ph.D., Kent State's Vice President for Student Affairs, has been appointed to recruit and screen highly qualified candidates, according to the release. Search committee members are Barry Fetterman, Principal Portfolio Manager, retired, Sriracha Capital Management, Inc., member and past chair, KSU Foundation Board of Directors, former student athlete in soccer. Nasha Manikul Davis, President, Student Athlete Advisory Council, current student athlete in gymnastics. Katie Matisse, Director, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Mary Parker, Vice President for Enrollment Management. Jeannie Reifsnyder, Senior Associate Vice President, Finance and Administration. Dave Ruler, City Manager, Kent. Trenton Stratton, Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, Sports Performance, and Student Athlete Well-Being. Lisa Strom, Head Coach, Women's Golf. Isaac Vance, Vice President, Student Athlete Advisory Council, current student athlete, football. Therese Walton Fassett, Professor, Sports Administration, member and past chair, Intercollegiate Athletics Committee, member, Faculty Senate. Kathy Wilson, Professor and Chair of Economics, Faculty Athletics Representative, Chair, Athletics Strategic Planning Leadership Team. Carr Sports Consulting, which recently conducted an atmosphere study within the Kent State Athletic Department, has been hired to assist in the Director of Athletics search process. Carr Sports has extended experience in conducting national searches for athletic directors for more than 20 years, and its client list includes many Mid-American Conference and NCAA Division I institutions, according to the university release. One of the Carr Sports managing partners is Mike Thomas, who served as Director of Athletics at Akron, Cincinnati, Illinois, and Cleveland State. Kent State is blessed with talented student athletes, coaches, employees, alumni, and supporters who embrace our athletics philosophy of graduating student athletes and winning championships, Kent State President Todd Diacon said. We are pleased that stellar individuals have agreed to serve on the search committee. I am confident that with their leadership and with the leadership of Search Chair Vice President Hilton, we will hire an outstanding leader to continue the Golden Flashes tradition of academic and competitive success. The search committee will begin its work this week by crafting a position profile, including qualifications and characteristics desired in the next athletic director. The committee seeks feedback from the university community and the public regarding the qualifications, characteristics, and experiences it should seek in the university's next athletic director. Faculty, staff, students, and the public are invited to offer suggestions and perspectives by completing an online survey, and nominations, expressions of interest, and information requests may be submitted to Kent State Search at sportsconsulting.com. Intercollegiate athletics is a core piece of our university experience, Hilton said. It is exciting to be searching for the next leader of athletics at Kent State University during this pivotal moment of evolution in higher education. I am confident that this search committee will lead the way in finding a leader who is not only qualified, but will take our athletics program to even higher heights. Kent State expects to have a new director of athletics in place no later than July 1st, the day after the contract of the current director of athletics, Joel Nielsen, expires. Nielsen announced in mid-January he will not seek a contract extension after leading the Kent State Athletic Department since 2010. Up next, WKSU to examine K-12 public education and the impact of the pandemic. A new public radio initiative by WKSU 89.7 will examine K-12 public education and the state of funding, opportunity gaps, curriculum, services offered, and the impact of the pandemic. Learning Curve, examining the past, present, and future of K-12 public education in Ohio, will also explore what's next for public education and how public educators, researchers, government officials, and advocates are using the pandemic to improve public education for the future. This reporting initiative will focus on 3 distinct phases in the Ohio public education system: before the coronavirus pandemic, during the pandemic, and the future. When we looked to select a topic for our next reporting initiative that would be meaningful to our community, we kept coming back to the topic of education, said Natalie Pillsbury, Director of Special Projects and Advancement. The pandemic has really highlighted inequities, and brought education and the role of schools to the forefront of people's minds. Pillsbury said the goal of the series is to bring public awareness to solutions that could transform public education positively for future generations. And the initiative will provide information that parents, teachers, and community members can use to advocate for their public education needs and goals. The series will air on 89.7. Articles and resources can also be found on wksu.org/learningcurve. This initiative is in partnership with IdeaStream and the Devil Strip. WKSU content can also be heard over WKRW 89.3 in Worcester, WKRJ 91.5 Dover, New Philadelphia, WKSV 89.1 in Thompson, WNRK 90.7 in Norwalk, W239AZ 95.7 in Ashland, and W234CX 94.7 in Mansfield. WKSU content is also available online at www.wksu.org through the mobile app and on smart speakers. Up next, Ravenna pastor vows to grow hair as protest against killing of unarmed black men and women by police, by Diane Smith. For years, the Reverend Dennis Ritchie has been cutting his hair weekly using a No. 1 blade to keep his hair closely cropped, but in early November he stopped, deciding that growing his hair out would be a silent form of protest. Ritchie, a longtime civil rights activist and pastor of Winfield Church of God in Christ, says he will not cut his hair until police stop killing unarmed black men and women. He started growing his hair in early November and has no time frame in mind when the protest will stop. I could go to my grave with an afro, he said. Ritchie has been a civil rights activist for 40 years, first becoming aware of racial inequality as a college student in the late 1970s. He joined the NAACP, where he is now a Silver Lifetime member, and the Community Action Network, making sure the Black community had equal access to government services. A pastor at the Ravenna Church since 2012, he quickly began to advocate for improvement to the King Kennedy Center and for homes to be built in the minority McElrath neighborhood in Ravenna. He was one of the first members of the Equity and Inclusion Task Force and has since resigned from that group, but stays in touch. He said he has long been concerned about Black people being killed while in police custody, but the death of George Floyd drew national attention from people who had never paid attention to such events before. Ritchie thinks part of the reason is that quarantined Americans had little else to do during the COVID-19 pandemic but watch clips of Floyd's arrest on repeat. Local protests initially raised awareness of police brutality and racial equality. But as the weather got colder and the pandemic raged, outdoor protests were replaced with other efforts. Several of his former college classmates, he said, spotted his recent photos on social media and told him he was bringing back memories of days when afros were popular. It's an entirely different purpose, he said. It's not a fashion statement now. When people see me, I get the chance to say something about it. Ritchie said he has noticed incidents where people of color are arrested, while white teens doing the same thing went unnoticed. It's not fair. It's not equal, he said. I just want equality. Ritchie said he believes laws need to be changed to prevent killings like that of Floyd. He said many people misunderstand calls for defunding the police, noting that often activists want to change the way funds are being spent to do things a different way. We just want a police stop away from it happening here, he said. A person could be suffering from a mental illness, or they could just be having a bad day. We need to put more funding into mental health awareness and trying to work with individuals. Ritchie says he hopes to cut his hair, but won't do so until the killing stops. We can't let it die. More people are aware and conscious of it. Let's not take our eyes off the prize. We still got to stay focused. Macedonia Raising Cane's gets final site plan okay by Ken Lamars. A spokesman for Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers restaurant said a May opening is anticipated now that the city's planning commission has approved a final site plan for the former Steak and Shake location on Route 82 in the center of town. The panel okayed the final site plan February 9th, subject to final administrative review and the granting of 2 variances, which will be discussed February 17th by the Board of Zoning Appeals. In December, Oleo Development of Columbus unveiled the plans to convert the former Steak and Shake building, and planners approved a preliminary site plan. Raising Cane's operates about 530 restaurants nationwide, including more than 30 in Ohio. Oleo Development already has begun work at the 4,430 square foot building. Spokesman Drew Gatliff has said original plans were to demolish the building and erect a new one, but officials decided to renovate instead. Since the preliminary site plan was approved, Raising Cane has made a handful of revisions to its original plans, including using more face brick on certain portions of the exterior and more modern style windows. Double drive-through lanes on the west side and a patio in front are planned, and there will be a tower in the front center portion with the restaurant's name on 3 sides. The name also will appear over the main entrance on the east side and in another location on the west side. Oleo Development will seek variances for the number of parking spaces, 36 instead of the zoning code required 87, and the width of the one-way drive aisle around the building, 15 feet instead of the required 19 feet. City planner Brian France recommended that Oleo address some issues with the types of trees and bushes which are incorporated into the property's landscaping. He noted final signage plans will be addressed prior to the opening. Raising Cane's was founded in August 1996 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana by Todd Graves and Craig Silvey, with the first restaurant near the entrance to Louisiana State University. In Northeast Ohio, there are 6 locations in the greater Cleveland area, one in Kent and one in the Belden Village area of Jackson's Township, Stark County. The business offers 5 main combos: the box 3-finger, Caniac, kids combo, and sandwich. Side items are French fries, Texas toast, and coleslaw. The firm uses canola oil to cook the tenders and fries. The name of the business comes from a yellow Labrador retriever named Raisin Cane, which Graves owned at the time the first restaurant was opened. And finally, Around Mogadore, checking in with residents who have gotten the COVID vaccine, by Barb Bauer. Vaccines are shipped through the United States. Many of us are waiting until that time when we are eligible to receive them. Slowly, we are making strides in getting the vaccine in people's arms. I spoke with some long-time residents in the village who have received their shots. Daryl and Elva Moore. What worked for them was calling several of the pharmacies in the area who were administering the vaccine, which enabled them to get on a wait list. By being listed with 2 pharmacies, they thought they had a better chance of being called. Daryl and Elva finally were called and got their first dose of the vaccine in January. They have to go back at the end of February to receive their second doses. There weren't any lines at the store, said Elva. The appointments were spaced 1/2 hour apart. After receiving the vaccine, Daryl and Elva had to wait a half an hour to make sure there weren't any adverse reactions to the vaccine, and there were none. As far as discomfort goes, Elva said when she went to sleep that night, she just fell asleep on the opposite arm in which she got her vaccine. Regarding life during the pandemic, this over 80-year-old couple are doing what we have to do. We avoid crowds, and our neighbors look in on us to see if we need anything. We are in good hands, Elva remarked. Don Smith, who retired from Mogadore Local Schools, said he went to the Summit County Health Department website and signed up to get a vaccine. He received an email from the department with an online form he had to fill out. Once he filled out the form and sent it back, he was contacted to set up an appointment to receive his vaccine. I drove to the health department and waited for an hour in my car in the line to get the vaccine. The problem was that some of the people had not filled out their online forms before they got in line and had to do so before they could get their vaccinations. Don explained. Of course, waiting in line was worth it. After his vaccine was given, he had to wait in the parking area for around 15 minutes to see if he had any reaction. Don's only discomfort from the vaccine, like Elva's, was a slightly sore arm. Otherwise, he felt fine. Don is signed up for his second dose at the end of the month. Let's hope the news in March is that many more people have received vaccines. Well, friends, that concludes the reading of the Record Courier for Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021. Please stay safe pending this terrible weather storm. And thank you for having me in your home. And be blessed and make it just a great day.